Hi, welcome back. This is Scott Dunn, Agile Coach and Trainer at Rocket 9 Solutions. And we're going through questions from the Scrum Master classes and Product Owner classes and Agile Leadership classes, and figured if they're of help to the students, if they're good questions the students have, then maybe folks out there have those questions too. So we're just putting them out there for others as well. So this question comes from Crossan Lawson Wu out of Kimperville, Kentucky. And Lawson asks, if the product backlog ends up having 300 items, should one do a big meeting to walk through each to prioritize, bucket them in sprints/iterations, and then have the team start to grab work? So one, I love that. I wish it could be something like that. So here's my thoughts. Yeah, if we have a lot, let's just say 300 is a lot, but I've had backlogs much bigger than that. But let's just say that's enough to cover months worth of work. I do think it's helpful to slot out that work. Certainly double check priorities, but do things change at your workplace? And if so, I'm not too worried about the things that appear to be priority several sprints out. Now, if we're doing this, let's just say it's a big room release planning type thing, then there might be expectations we are going to do that stuff. And if so, then we need to check with whomever is expecting that stuff and talk. If it's like, hey, slot this stuff out, I think that's what we're going to want, and it might change and no one really worries about that, then I'm not worried about that either. You worried? I'm not worried. No one's who's worried. I'm not worried. So I think that would be just fine. Secondly, or third, I don't know what number I was on. Let's go 3, like I've already had 2 great points. So let's go 3. The third thing I would say is, how well do we know that stuff? And is there a benefit? All this stuff is just return on investment, cost benefit analysis to say, yes, the time spent doing that's important. What I've seen from my times as a developer and on numerous Agile teams is that we typically have problems coordinating. We don't talk enough. We don't get in the same room. We're not in the same rooms, and certainly right now with COVID and online, but we could, right? We could set up ways to do that, but we generally don't talk as much as we probably should. Keeping in mind that Agile says individuals' interactions over processes and tools. And we're sliding a little bit towards process, saying, hey, everyone, I want you all to come into this room, and I want all the layout what's coming up in the next 3 months, and then discuss it and all that kind of stuff. So that's fine if the value's there. That is, what problem are we trying to solve? Are we solving a problem that priorities weren't clear when we started? I've seen that happen plenty of times. And I will say this, we wrote a blog post earlier, the cost of management stepping in, like changing things on us, is really expensive. One Agile coach said probably doubles his cost to delivery when management comes down and just upends all those priorities. So there is work to do on the product owner side, or whoever's in charge of product management, to say, is this really what everyone's wanting? You guys really thought about this and everyone's weighed in, we heard all the voices and everyone's in agreement, everyone's aligned. I think that's the hard work. So I would take a look at that. And then that might be the problem we're solving with priorities. Commonly with tech folks, it could be the problem is just coordination. Oh, I didn't know you were going to do that. Or I didn't know I just wrote over your code. I didn't know I just rebuilt what you just built. I didn't know that you didn't know that I didn't know that. Right? So those are all issues and problems. So we line it up sprint by sprint, then we can see what we need to do. And I think that that's a helpful mental exercise. Will it change? I think it will change. Sorry, but still, that value's there. We at least thought through that, and that's going to help with if you have pain points of user experience being done well enough and having the time to do that well enough. If you have pain points of architecture, felt like they had enough time to do their job well and weigh in on things and review what's been requested, as well as for testing, right? What kind of tests are doing across what time spans? When are we going to do full regression? When do we do full system tests? Should we be doing more automated testing? Yes, we should. But we're going to probably have that conversation, shouldn't we? Yes. So. What about getting better at your job? What about taking time to refactor the code, clean up the code? What about taking time to learn and try out new technologies and figure some things out? Do we have any slack in the system? And it's definitely been proven that having slack in the system is good for all sorts of things: risk mitigation, innovation, collaboration, just good thought work. All that stuff goes in there. So I think that that's all good for that. If you're just starting out, though, how well do you know that backlog and how good are those estimates? So we could do all that work and just be terribly off, which maybe isn't so bad. It's just like, wow, we learned a lot. We're terrible at estimating right now, and you'll get better. But if we're starting off and we do all this work, management might still have the impression that you just said you're going to do those things, and come heck or high water, they should see it. So you could inadvertently miss set expectations, and that could be problematic in the ways we described earlier. So My original idea is, yes, I think this is a good practice. Yes, I think it's a good sign of mature teams. Certainly if you have multiple teams, I think it almost becomes required. Now, going way out on a limb here, large scale Scrum or less, the work of Craig Larman and Bus Bodie, I think they do a superb job of raising the leveling everyone up in all those practices. If you look at less.works, and they would say, look, who knows what's going to happen next sprint? The entire world is destroyed and recreated every sprint. Yes, as far as Scrum knows, they pulled away from release planning and they just keep it the simple Scrum. That's true. For the Scrum guy, that's true. I would just ask, what's the level of your dev team, your practices, your coordination, all the people involved in ID, whoever's involved in value delivery, what's their level? And if it's not level up, all you're doing is throwing, an average car onto a racetrack and saying it should be able to do 200 miles an hour. Yeah, I mean, you should do some work on it. It could. It's still an engine and 4 tires. But most of our teams, they're not there. And they're partly not there because we've given them no time to improve. We've given them no time to refactor the code. We've given them no time for training. The most they get for this massive upheaval with Agile is 2 days of training in Scrum Master class, and that's it. And no one else is going. Management's certainly not going to training, and they're not getting better, and they're not helping. That's statistically true. They're not helping, right? But we could help. We could get better on that one. So, and they don't teach each other. They don't do on-the-job training. We're not pairing. We're not mob programming. All that good stuff is in the Certified Scrum Developer class, the extreme programming practices. So my point is, don't get down on them for not being at a certain level. We haven't given them any breathing space to get better. All they're doing is treading water and trying to get stuff out the door. And usually they're pressured to shortchange quality, and they go their secret bag of tricks. So point being, large scale Scrum says don't do release planning. Don't plan out that far. Don't go into coordination chaos. And I agree. That's like the golden orb of perfection, not protection. Although it could be protection and perfection. Okay, maybe in a year, 2 years, these agile transformations take multiple years. Put that on your radar as a goal. I think it's great. But for right now, maybe we just need to get everyone in a room and do all that coordination, all that sloppy, messy work. And I hope that there's a return on value for that investment, that it made sense and helped out. So that's my 2 cents on that. Starting out, yeah, I'd like to get there, see what you can do. Maybe give them a few sprints to get the team's velocity down and get enough of the backlog size that they basically understand it. Double check your stakeholders' expectations. Are they going to be flexible? Are they understanding? Or is this going to be sunk in stone? And you make those decisions what you want to do in terms of communicating that. Cross and Lawson, I hope that's of some help for you and your folks there in Kimperville, Kentucky. I hope you guys rock it. To everyone else, good luck on your journey, and we hope to see you back here again soon.